Well, good afternoon, and thank you so much for sharing this time with me.
Thank you for having me, Ms. Roberts.
So first things first, tell us your name and what do you do? I think your AirPods out of the case? It's muted right now. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Yeah, I've been having issues with this Zoom for the past couple of days, and I've updated it, uninstalled it, reinstalled it, but we'll keep it moving.
Yeah, if it goes out, we can just start over. I mean, we can start the question over, so.
All right, yeah, Quincy down league, but what I do is servant leadership.
Tell us what that looks like.
That looks like when I have internal and external stakeholders and they have some varying degrees of need. That's either the AAUL team or the people that we serve or the people we collaborate with. We help meet those needs, whether it's an individual, a corporation, or a group in the community. And we help to bring resolution and solution to societal ills. So servant leadership requires that sometimes I shut up and listen. Other times it requires that I open my big mouth.
Tell us like what is a typical day for you?
Oh man. Professionally, personally, are all together because the work from home thing got everything lumped together.
All of it.
I start each day in my mind thanking God that I woke up. I always look at my beautiful wife and acknowledge her, whether I open my mouth or not. Spiritually, I acknowledge her and thank God for her. And then I got 3 beautiful kids, so some way or another, I see them, right? I give them energy. The 2 little ones, I make breakfast for them every morning, and sometimes I may take a call. Most days I don't, because everybody knows don't call me before 10 a.m. because that's my family time each day. Unless it's some pressing business, I'll give them a heads up, give my wife heads up. Then about 10 a.m., depending on where we are with the team and everything, I either take internal or external meetings. Most Mondays and Fridays, I try to keep open so that I can focus on internal Urban League business, because the email inbox can get away from you. I took 4 days off last week, and man, I'm still on Tuesday of this week trying to catch up. So most days I take all of my meetings on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays, in between 10 and 5, right? My mini bosses, which are my 1-year-old and my 4-year-old, they come in the office between 5 and 5:30, and they demand to go outside. So sometimes I'm fortunate enough and they want to ride the bike, and I can take some meetings while I'm riding bikes. God don't make no mistakes. So he set up opportunities for us to have family success and professional success. So I blend the two sometimes so that I can get it all done, because if I have to put one or the other down, I'm putting this Urban League work down for my wife and my kids. That's just hard stop. It's not nothing personal. I love my movement, but they come second to my family. And that's that.
Where were you born and raised?
St. Louis, Missouri.
What
That's
was,
where I'm from.
what was life like growing up?
Uh, we had a lot of fun. We had some tough times. My mother did a great job of raising me and my 3 brothers. That means it wasn't difficult. What that means is that my mother's a tough cookie, and she got 3 sons that's still living that the system didn't lock up or kill. So that's an accomplishment in itself. When I was a little younger, people, you ask me, what do you want to do? I want to be alive. I want to see what the other side of 18 to 21 looks like. I'm here. So that in itself is an achievement. So I had to set new goals in St. Louis. One of the goals was to get out, but not forget. So I got connections because I grew up in Urban League programming in St. Louis, not understanding that I was connected to some big, had no clue that I would come to this later on in my career. I still give back in some ways back in St. Louis. I got people there. And you know, I did my knucklehead stuff. Almost to the point to where it took me out one way or another, but God saw fit to give me some options. And thankfully I chose the path he set for me. I chose the right path. So I'm here to serve. That's it. I'm here to serve. I serve my God, I serve my wife and my family, and I serve my people. Even people who think I'm their adversary, Anita, I still serve them. Because I'm not here to do what you think I should do. I'm here to do my purpose that I was designed for. And I don't have to apologize for it. I sleep good at night. Only time I don't sleep good is when I got too much stuff in my head and my wife won't let me come to the computer because I need to rest.
Absolutely, absolutely. So talk about how you did get into the Urban League, and so you have a unique story and a really inspirational story.
So just a little backstory to set the stage. Before I met my girl in college, right? So I got my first start in nonprofit space in college, but not professional space. So I took some other skills that I had from other professional opportunities when I went back to school late, because I was into some other stuff and another lifestyle. And again, this is where God pivoted me to say, choose life or death or jail, or choose what I got for you. And you're going to have to drop some things and you're going to have to commit to a process. So I committed to an education process, but structured in a very specific way, right? So I made it through that process. We get married and we want to move to New York City. So we do that. I was there, I think 3 days, job interview. They called me back, give me the job in less than 3 days. So I didn't think, I was going to find anything. So I'm there almost a year and a half. I leave diaspora to go to Catholic Charities. So I'm at Catholic Charities, and one of the instructors, because I was running a non-traditional education setting, it's a CBO and a New York Department of Ed GED school combination mashup. So I'm running it, and we getting kids to get their credentialing, and they going on to higher ed of other post-secondary training. And we also getting them some mental health supports as well, and other barrier elimination. And the teachers say, hey, you're going to have to get away from Catholic Charities because you scaring white folks here. And they have a way of keeping talented Black people in a little box so that professionally they don't succeed. And at first I kind of blew it off. And I tell you, her name is Miss Stephanie Ellis Gibbs, and wherever she is in the world, she has an ally regardless. So she said, before she told me that, she said, I need to see a copy of your resume. And I thought you like checking me to see if I could leave. So I said, all right, cool. I don't know this lady. And I just gave it to her. And she said, then she told me why she asked for it a day later. So about 6 months in, I get a call from the Urban League to ask if I'm interested in doing some consulting work. Because she went and told them the whole story about how I took this thing over, increased the enrollment by astronomical numbers, and I increased the completion rate. And then I started raising money privately, and she told them all of that. So they came and got me. And I started out consulting for a couple of months, and it was going good. And then they say, you know what? You ready to leave and come to the Urban League? And I said, yeah, I'll go back to St. Louis. He said, nah, New York Urban League. I said, oh, y'all want me to stay here? Because I thought I was going to have to go back to St. Louis. So I met the CEO, Ms. Arva Rice, and she made me an offer. And it was an offer I could refuse and couldn't refuse at the same time. But because I knew something about the Urban League, that made it easy to tell Catholic Charities, see you later. And I had a conversation with them about, they doubled my workload, but didn't double my pay. And at that time, I knew what I was worth, and I started negotiating with them, and they got quiet on me. So I got gone on them. And the Urban League brought me in, and I was at the New York affiliate. We did some great work all over New York City. Great work with traditional and non-traditional students under the New York Urban League's education division, where I was put in charge of that and the college access program. And then, as well as doing cross-divisional stuff, I got exposed to a lot. I must have did something right because I got invited by the National Urban League to participate in an event that they have every summer, annual conference, but for the youth. And I guess I did something right because I got to come back and I got to start working with Miss Darlene Marlin on some great work nationally. And then by chance, I saw a position online. I didn't even tell Darlene, I just applied for it. Well, fast forward back to my first day on the job with the New York Urban League was the annual conference in Washington, D.C. It was the centennial. I go in and you know me, Anita. You know my personality. I'm gonna work the room to see who in there and how my people can benefit from them, right? I'm working the room and I sit down with the number 2 at the Urban League, Don Bowen. He's the senior vice president of programs. We never told each other. I told him I worked at the New York Urban League. He told me he worked in the movement, but we never talked about what he did. We just talked about the movement and where I saw myself in the movement. Fast forward to the day I'm there for the interview, I'm sitting outside waiting for my turn to interview. Who walks by other than Don Bowen? He walks by and he do a double take and he called me by my name. I didn't think he would remember. He said, Quincy. I said, how you doing, Mr. Bowen? I did the politically correct thing. I stood up and shook his hand and you know, we embraced. And he said, man, I remember talking to you. We talked for like 2 or 3 hours and we were supposed to be doing other stuff, but obviously it left the impression. He says to me, what are you here for? I said, oh, I'm here to interview for a position. And he said, what? And I told him. He said, do you remember what I did? I said, no, we never did get to that. We just had so much fun talking about the movement and you were sharing information that I need. He said, no, he said, I'm the number 2. I'm the senior vice president of programs. And I had, excuse my language, I had an oh shit moment in my head, but I ain't let him see it. Because, you know, you sitting there talking to the man. Now, I had already had interactions with Mark. So I had a good rapport with Mark Moriel, the president and CEO of the National Urban League. But this is the guy who make personnel decisions, you know, for the Urban League, for the programs division. And verbatim, he said, good. Now I got a face to put with that resume because otherwise it would have just been a resume in a stack. He said, not that I would ever forget your name because I know you. Like, I feel like we got a relationship. So I do my interview, I'm leaving. They call me back, say, you come back upstairs for a second interview. I was like, today? It's like, yeah. I go back in the room, they tell me I got the job. Yeah, and so much so, and it's the team that I work with on the youth summit, right? So I thought I thought I was good with them until in the interview, boy, they was crushing me, Anita. But I was giving them what they wanted, but I felt like they was coming for me. And when I got back in there after they told me I got the offer, I said, man, I thought y'all was trying to, you know, scare me off. And I got the word in the room that, you know, we had interviewed PhDs and everybody else, but they didn't bring what you brought to the table professionally or personally. That's why we wanted to make you the offer before you could even go back to the office. So the next thing they said to me was, how you gonna tell Miss Arva? I said, leave it to me. I'm gonna do it the right way. I'm gonna sit down and talk to them. And they said, well, Mark wants to make the phone call to Arva to tell her. I said, nah, it has to come from me because I'm her guy as well, right? Mark calls me his guy. Even before he hired me, he was calling me his guy, right? So I wanted to do it right because I got much respect for Miss Rice, and I still have a great relationship with her. I still call her for stuff, but now with peers and colleagues. So she calls me for stuff as well because, again, I brought some stuff to the table, and that's the backstory. Like, that's my progression through the movement. Fast forward to 7 years at the National Urban League, and I leave for a year to go to the Police Athletic League. So I want to spread my wings, but in my mind, I always knew I was coming back. It was just what would be the right opportunity. And I didn't even apply for the job down here. I got a call from a search firm or something like that. And if I applied for it, I forgot, but Dr. Mark Washington called me and he was like, can you come for an interview? And I was like, yeah, I need about 3 weeks to make the arrangements. He was like, this was a Sunday. This was a Saturday. He was like, no, I need you to come Monday or Tuesday. And I was like, do you know how much that plane ticket is going to cost? He said, no, you need to understand you're interviewing to be the CEO. I'm used to paying my own way or having national pay, right? So he was like, if you say yes, by the time we hang up the phone, your arrangements will already be solidified. He said, we'll have the car reserved, we'll have your lodging reserved, and we'll have the stipend equivalent to what we need a CEO to have when they come visit us. We'll take care of all of that. I need you to come for 2 or 3 days. So I had plenty of vacation time built up at Powell. I went in Monday and told my boss, hey, I got something I need to take care of in the South. I'm gonna take 3 days off. It's like, cool. He said, can you work remotely? Cool. So I did everything I was supposed to do. Then I'm here, I do the interview, I get back, I get a call, I get told I did a nice job. They say, hey, can you come back in a month? I said, yeah, that give me time to take off. So I came back, did the second interview, everything was good. They said, we need you to come back for a third time to finalize everything so we can talk. And they sent me a draft of a contract, and that was a test. I know it was a test because Mark Washington is brilliant in the HR space and every other space that he touches, right? He sent me something in writing, and we had a conversation about it later on. He's like, yeah, that was a test to see if you really knew what you said you knew. He said, the way you rewrote the offer letter, that's what made it clear to us that you were the right candidate. He said, what we sent you, or what we had the chief of staff at the time send you, it was a test from the board that she didn't know necessarily was a test. And I turned it around and I said, listen, this is not going to work. Here's what I propose. And I sent them back an offer. And then we negotiated my arrival here. And it worked out for the best because I've been here for 3.5 years. And unless God points me in a different direction, I done planted roots here and I ain't going nowhere. I'm here to serve. And they're going to have to find some other kind of way to get rid of me. And I'm ready for that too if it ever comes.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Read more and pay attention to your surroundings, right? I've been good at it my whole life, but there were some points and times where I just went with the flow. Read more. Read more. Now, I grew up in the transition age from the consumption of information via books, TV, and radio to now social media. So I have the advantage of understanding where the real information is hidden. And it's not on no social media platform. Every now and then you'll get something good to consume. I would tell my younger self, also invest in Google and Tesla and Microsoft. But then again, that would change my trajectory because everything I did set me up for to have success the way God intended. I'm not successful because I'm the CEO. I'm successful because I'm my wife's husband and my kid's father and the child of God, my mother's son. That's why I'm successful, right? So everything I do, every decision I make every day is because of that. The other thing I would tell my youngest self is, dude, learn the skill set of decision making earlier in life. We did a session last night with 17 Black male teachers, students, last night. And the one thing I started the sessions with them with is we walk through the decision-making process. If we get more people to understand that decision-making is a skill set and not just something you do, we'll change our trajectory. When I learned that it was an official skill set that I could learn, Anita, that changed the game for me. And if you master that skill set, it's gonna happen. Not to say I do it perfect, because that's why my wife is a strong wife, but sometimes she has to bust my ass because I don't get it right. But for the most part, about 80 or 90% of the time, I get it right. And then I listen to the people who can guide me. And it's not always somebody older than me. I'm humble enough to understand that young people got some information to exchange with me. So be willing, I would tell my younger self, seek to understand, then be understood. Learn the skill set of decision making, pay attention to your surroundings, and trust God sooner.
How has failure, a challenge, or apparent failure set you up for later success?
I have a specific mindset towards failure. Failure is absolute nothingness. I don't fail, I have setbacks. I don't think I ever failed at anything. And some people would say, well, you ain't make it to play professional football. That was a failure. No, it won't. It's not, no, it's not a failure. That's not the path that God had for me. So believe me, I'm going to be a millionaire many times over, right? All I have to do is follow my purpose the way it is designed for me. They said, someone may say, well, you didn't reach your other goal of being a 4-star general. Yes, I did, just not in the United States military, right? So it's a matter of perspective. Say, well, you didn't do such and such. You didn't get your degree by the time you was 22. Well, I got it by the time I was 29, and then by the time I was 31, I had 2 degrees. And now I got a couple of other credentials from top tier institutions to match that. And so what? I'm a servant leader. So that means nothing if I can't apply it to improve my people's living condition or quality of life, right? So failure is absolute nothingness. Failure is if you reach a barrier or a challenge and you stop. You've entered into nothingness there. I wouldn't say I failed at anything. That's not being arrogant. That's understanding who I'm backed by, right? When you live in your purpose, ain't no failure in front of you.
If you had a gigantic billboard anywhere in the world, and you can get a message out to millions or billions of people, what would it be? What would that message be, and why?
That message would be: live a life of unselfish living and seek to understand, then be understood. That is part of the problem that we have in our democracy now. That is the problem we have inside of the little dichotomies inside of our democracy, where we each don't seek to understand. Living as a Black person in this country is a traumatic experience. And if you do not have the perspective that I have, you don't know why I have the energy that I have. Right? So I would say, seek to understand, then be understood. Always place mind over matter. And then go read the true definition of equity, learn it, and ingrain it in your existence. When you start thinking about equity and what's owed to me and my people, if you can sit there and say for 1 second, oh, we have an equal, fair existence in this country, you're a bald-faced liar to yourself and everybody else around you. Go learn and live equity. If you learn it and you live it, then you will be a good ally. Notice I didn't say white or Black ally, I said you'll be a good ally.
Some of these questions I got from Tim Ferriss, and this one is a funny one, I think. What's an unusual habit or absurd thing that you love?
Monopoly. Yes. I collect them. I got a garage full of them. I collect them everywhere that I am. I have at least 10 of them in the office. So anytime any cross-generational person I encounter want to get down on something, I can determine a whole lot about you, about how you play the game of Monopoly. And if you don't play, it says a lot. Same thing with the game of chess. But I would prefer to play Monopoly because I didn't practice chess that much because it was too simplistic, right? The game of Monopoly forces you to adapt because the way the game is set up, it's adaptable. That's why I love it. The wrangling and the negotiating, it's what we do as Black people in life. We wrangle and we negotiate with each other. We wrangle and we negotiate with illogical people. We push and force people into certain specific mindsets to do certain specific things. I love Monopoly. Play it with a 1-year-old or a 100-year-old. And my goal is the same: for your debt to be more than you can pay and turn over all that you have of value and retire from the game. When I play the game, Anita, I talk crap too. I tell people, this is Little House on the Prairie. You the little house, and I'm the tornado. You don't stand a chance.
You're terrible. What is a purchase of $100 or less that has positively impacted your life over the last 6 months or recent memory?
$100 or less. Balloons for my girl. To see her face light up. I'm not creative in the traditional creative way. So for me to seek somebody who has a specific skill set that I think I want to utilize to impress my girl, for me to come down and see the energy and the happiness in her face over some balloons and some other stuff that I tried to do because I'm a non-creative, but I want to impress her because I love her, that's money well spent. And you can't buy that. Like, that's priceless. It costs 100, but it's priceless. The other thing I would say is any toy, trinket, or thing I buy for my kids to see them get the joy out of it, but have them understand that the value is not in what I bought. The value is in the experience you gain from interacting with that thing and your family associated with that thing. So that quality time. Same thing with the people I serve. If I buy the team some lunch, it's not the fact that I paid for lunch, it's our ability to break bread and get stuff done for our people. Like, I ain't looking at the $100 value of it because its price is what comes out on the other side of it. And then me personally, so I'm gonna take it personal. I love a thing called lemon, lime, and bitters. And it's a drink. It's a soft drink from Trinidad and Tobago. And I usually could order them on Walmart because of the freight deal in all of the ports. I can't get it from Walmart right now. So when I see it, I buy it by the caseload.
When you feel overwhelmed or unfocused or have lost your focus, what do you do to get back to center?
I disconnect and I plant my energy somewhere that can help me recenter and focus. That might be my kids. That might be going to throw rocks in some water. That might be going for a walk with my young ones. That might be listening to my wife help me reground, right? Because when you pray for something and you get it, you better thank God for it. So when I prayed for her, I think sometimes God laughed because he put a little something extra spicy on it too. So when I need to be recentered or grounded, I call my wife or I call my mama, because my mama got that sharp tongue too, and she know how to whoop ass. And my wife really know how to whoop ass and get you back grounded, centered, and focused. And because sometimes, very, very seldomly the CEO comes out and she has to remind you, you head of the household, but you ain't no CEO here, so get it together. Go in that little office and be the CEO. You head of household and father here, but you also my partner, which means I stand beside you. So that grounding, again, is get quiet and listen, right? Sometimes you have to listen, or I dive deeper into the work. I have multiple ways to do it depending on what I need to be recentered for.
What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made? And it could be anything.
I have to go back to my girl. The time, talent, and treasures that I put into her. Yes, I'm hard edge. I'm hardcore. I can be mean, strict, but it's for a purpose, and nobody understands that better than her, right? Now, she tough as hell too. She got some very straightforward, strict standards, and I had to come up so that I could marry her, right? So when you talk about the question that you asked, is just, that is what it is.
What's your superpower?
The ability to analyze and assess short-term, long-term, and short-term, medium-term, long-term scenarios and situations. So the ability to process information and have different pathways to a decided outcome, and understanding the assets that need to happen in that space. You understand exactly what I'm saying, because I know your training. So when you walk into a room, whether it's full of people or it's empty, situational analysis occurs. You know what you came for, and that may have changed once you determine what's your liabilities and assets in that space, whether the room is full or whether it's an outdoor space. When I ride my bike, if I see where they're doing construction at, I better not ride where they're doing construction at, because I might catch a nail. And them tires on their bike cost like $100 a pop. That's $100 I got to take out of something else. So that the ability to walk in there and assess the scenarios and win-win coming out. My thing used to be, if I'm in a situation, I'm only assessing the win for me. Nah, that don't work anymore because of what I have to do. I have to carry an analysis of what's the impact of what I do to me and those around me. That's why I talked about those internal and external stakeholders and what I have to consider. Now, that don't mean sometimes I don't get selfish, because I'm human. But my superpower is that, and moving people to purpose. A lot of people don't always like that, Anita, because sometimes me moving you lights that fire into your ass and you don't like it.
Sure. How are you using your platform and your power for good?
Again, when you look at the different groups that we serve and that we partner with to change their quality of life variable, I have a big mouth and I want to do it the Quincy Dunlap way. And sometimes that don't line up with the way my wife needs things done or the way the Urban League needs things done. Now, I seek out my girl's opinion on everything, and I don't always like it. But the ability to do what needs to be done for the purpose that it needs to be done is what I focus on. I have the ability to take my ego out of it, Anita, and that's some things that a lot of people can't do. Who cares about my title as president and CEO if I don't serve and lead? Who cares? If I'm in this seat and I don't change the scenario for everybody that the Urban League encounters, which includes my primary stakeholders, my family, that is failure. You want a definition of failure? That's not using your platform for the greater good. That's failure. So it's using everything that God has given me under his authority, under my control, to make sure I serve in the purpose that I'm supposed to be serving in. That's what it is right there.
What are you most proud of?
I have to say, the love and respect in my family. That's personal. Like, for me, it's a big deal. I'm not saying I'm a jerk. I know it, and I'm not apologizing for it. But in my family, I know it's unconditional love. Sometimes my wife don't like me, but she always loved me. Sometimes my 16-year-old, when I'm getting on him about something, he like, man, I wish this dude would just take his old buddy in his room and leave me alone. And even the two little ones, especially little mama, she got a way of looking at me and getting me to do stuff that I'm like, I wouldn't do that for nobody. But here she walk her little wobbly self in here at 1 year old and get the world, heaven and earth to move. Right?
Who's your favorite person?
A list of them. Starting with my wife and kids and my mama. I have a few pastors on their list. My college football coach, Jack Bush Jr., is definitely on their list. Leonard Moore, Colette Pierce Burnett, Steve Adler, Jeff Trevelyan, and not just because they are who they are, because when I talk to them, there's a whole list. Nelson, I can go on and on. There's a whole list of them. Like, if I had to choose one person, I'm choosing my wife. Period. Hands down, board. That's who I choose every time. So you know me. You know I'm not just gonna take one. I'm gonna take as many as I can get. So I run off a whole list of people that if I'm having dinner somewhere, I want to sit and eat with them. Historically, past figure, I would want to sit with some of those well-known and not so well-known African-American leaders and intellectual giants to get oiled up. I would want to sit there and listen to their debates, because that's what I do. I go on YouTube and I watch those old debates. And that's where the real intellectual capital is. None of what we're doing is new. It's been discussed for millennia. I would want to go back to before we were slaves to talk to some of my African ancestors who had the knowledge that was stolen from you. Like, those are my favorites. They better not ever create time travel in my life, because I'm gonna go back and tell them what's happening. But then again, I would change the timeline.
What do you see as your place or your purpose?
Again, my place, I don't plan on leaving the Urban League, right? And the reason I say that is because, two, God intends for me to build something very special here inside of my purpose so that it serves the purpose that he designed me for. Anybody who know me will say, it ain't Quincy Dunlap doing anything. I'm following God's plan for my life. So in that acknowledgement, if people say, hey, Quincy did, no, Quincy ain't did shit. All I'm doing is manifesting God's will in my life. If you follow a higher power, you're going to adopt that. So when I impact people, when they look at me, they ain't looking at me. They looking at God's manifestation of what is for my life in his will, right? So when you look at that, now that's not to say I get it perfect, because again, in my jerk mentality, sometimes God had to slap me around, and he used my wife and my mama to do it. And sometimes other people, right? I like being humble because that makes me better, right? So that purpose that I'm driven to, servant leadership, it don't have to be with the Urban League, but until God tells me to move, I'm gonna keep building something special here, because I've been given the vision, I'm being provided the resources and the access and the opportunity, so I'm gonna keep building until he moves me. And I sent him a little note and say, hey, God, I kind of like this. I get the PhD, but let me stay what I'm doing, and it ain't about money, right? Because if you knew where I started at, if you knew where I started when I went legit, to see me now is like, oh, God done did something special. Notice I didn't say Quincy, I said God. Listen, I'm gonna tell you how I know I'm chosen by God. How the hell could I get the wife I got being who I was? You seen my wife? Come on. And I prayed about that, Anita. Tell me God don't love me. You can't tell me I ain't got no purpose. I know it's true. I know he there. You seen my wife? Come on.
How do you want to be remembered after you're gone?
Picture on the wall and say he served with excellence. But the Urban League should be set after my legacy. What I set in place for the Urban League and for my kids as a legacy should live on. My kids shouldn't have the struggles that I had or had. At the end of the day, when my son comes to me, when he graduates and he tells me his chosen path and we pray about it, I should be able to see his path and then let God do his work in him. Same thing with the other two kids. Same thing for the Urban League. If I do what I'm supposed to do, same thing with my girl and her creativeness and entrepreneurship spirit. if I do what I'm supposed to do, I'm already in the history books in a whole lot of ways in a bunch of different places in the country. I'm good with that. But when you read it, it should say, great husband, loving, caring husband, because sometimes that core is hard. It should say, great, loving, caring father, provided to the best of his ability, which was well. And then it should get into the other stuff about my profession. If you don't lead with my family life, you don't know me. So don't talk about me. Right? Then it should read all of the other stuff. And then the Urban League should be generating resources and opportunities and access based on the stuff that we set up. So when I'm gone 50 to 100 years from now, hopefully the Urban League ain't around and we are a footnote in history because we would have achieved our mission. And I'll be sitting in heaven laughing with God, eating some fried chicken, watching the Steelers game and possibly playing some Monopoly. And he'll be saying, son, job well done. And then I see my girl over there and she'll probably yell at me to do something in heaven.
Or, oh my God, that's good. What was the other question I have for you? What's the best place you've ever lived?
I have to say where I'm at now. I have lived a tough, hard life, but all of that was living well to get me to this point. The reason I say this is the best place that I've lived, I had 2 kids when I moved down here. We lived in a small apartment and God saw fit to progress me. And when I say progress me, this ain't progressive preaching. I'm saying he progressed me in spirit, mind, and in action, right? When I say progress, that means I got a partner who is also equally or more talented, creative, and energetic than I am. That's my wife. That's what progress is. I know she's smarter than me. I'm not sad about that. I'm not sad about that because she makes me level up. I'm not afraid to admit that. Again, what I'm most proud of is being able to take, being able to take the power and the information and the energy and the knowledge and not be afraid to pay it forward. I can't take this with me when I die. And if the people I encounter say they was around me and didn't learn nothing, they wasn't really around me.
What's your favorite book or book you'd recommend?
Oh man, it's gonna sound crazy. Behold the Pale Horse. I've read a lot. I don't have as much time to read as I want to. I got a whole list of them that I gotta read. But Behold the Pale Horse, for the mere fact of when I read information, I want to know what's behind the information that's presented. And if you read that book and you don't learn how to analyze information from what that white man is telling you in that book, he gave away all the secrets in the book. If you never read the book, go get it on Audible or pick it up and read it. That's one of my favorite books, along with the Bible. And I know that sounds cliche, but if you read the Bible as a great literary work, you're going to understand some strategy. Now, you can miss it getting up, shouting and praising and speaking in tongues. If you miss the brilliance of God in that translation, it's good to do all of that. But sometimes shut up and just read and seek to understand, because he put the game in the book. It's not a system in the world that Bible can't break down and describe to you and teach you how to win or change. If you look at it through a purpose-driven life. I ain't saying you can't be Christian when you read it, but if you listen to some brilliant men, I would love to have a conversation with Louis Farrakhan too. I'm gonna put him on the list. If you listen to him, he's a Muslim, but he often quotes Christian texts because he ain't no dummy. Farrakhan was brilliant enough to realize that God is the God of everything and not just the God that you or I want him to be for the purpose that we intend him to be God. God is bigger than any of us could ever fathom. So when you start to understand that, you say, oh yeah, that God is so great. He know what he's doing with Muslims and everybody else. I don't have to judge them. I just got to do what I'm supposed to do.
Describe your experience of being a Black man in America.
It's contextual because obviously, if you look at me, especially if I have a hat on, I can fit into different ethnic categories. If I'm in Crown Heights with a long black trench coat on, you think I'm Jewish. If I'm in the Bronx with a baseball hat on, you think I'm Latino. If I'm in rural St. Louis County with a baseball hat on, you think I'm white. And like I said, God don't make no mistakes. I got created for a very specific purpose as a Black man in this country. But I grew up in a neighborhood of all dark-skinned people, and I used to have to fight because I was a light-skinned kid, right? So again, had to be toughened and polished in some very specific ways to not let the negative come out when I'm doing the business and the purpose that I'm supposed to be doing, right? So my experience as a Black man in this country is contextual to where I'm at, right? Here in Austin, I heard once before, and I had to correct the person. They said, "Oh, you speak so well," and I said, "What the hell was I supposed to speak like? What am I supposed to speak like? If you want me to cuss you out, I can. I can talk to you like you the scum of the earth." And I told that person, "Don't you ever make that statement to anybody else. Oh, you speak so well. What you mean? I articulate because I can read and comprehend. I articulate because I can read and comprehend. I articulate because I can take your information, chop it up, and then spit it back to you and make you swallow it. Nah, man, come on."
What do you enjoy doing in your leisure time?
Again, that bike ride with my kids, sitting around watching TV, spending time with my girl. I think that Monopoly, again, it's there. Anytime I can get somebody to play, I don't care who they are, we can get a game anytime. That kind of stuff. Just being with my girl, being with my wife and kids. That's my girl. That's the best thing. I like when we have to take little road trips and stuff, and we go to the different green spaces in Texas, and just get into some other environments, seeing other environments, and understand what people do in other spaces. That's what I enjoy. That was the mini boss trying to get in here.
I definitely understand. I'm on her time, and
You know the other thing I enjoy too, Anita, the strategy behind trying to push my people forward. Thinking through, the system is designed with specific loopholes in it. Our adversary exploits those loopholes and never tells the game. But when they figure that you figure it out, oh, they want to be your friend and be your partner. Okay, well, I'm gonna flip it on you. Because you haven't flipped it on my people, I'm gonna flip it on you and make you pay up equitably the way you should be, whether it's time, talent, or treasures.
what does it mean to be chosen as one of our top 10 diversity champions for 2021?
What it means is not every Black person is a diversity expert. I'm tired of seeing Black ass people tell me they're a DEI expert because they Black. And a lot of us don't even know our whole history before 1619. Every Black person ain't a diversity expert. Every Black person ain't for Black people. So my thing is to stay studied, stay learned, so that when I have to do diversity things, I have the right mindset and approach for equity, right? Diversity without equity is pointless, right? So now we're talking about this critical race theory. Race is in everything, but every Black person ain't no expert on the Black race. and stop trying to hold us all accountable, even other Black people, for being the Black leader. It's not no one of us. It's a lot of us. And this is stronger than this always. This is where we need to be. We're doing this right now. Right? When we get to that place where, and I'll call out some names, you have a Pam Benson Owens, you have a Rachel Pierce Burnside, you have a Dr. Courtney Robinson, who are diversity authorities. You have a Dr. Stephanie Hawley or Dr. Ward, a third round rock. You got some people, you have a Kazike Prince. You got some intellectuals who are DEI authorities, right? I just get to fit in and play the game somewhere. And hopefully I play it the way I'm supposed to for the purpose that I'm designed for. I would never say it. The only thing I'm an expert at, and sometimes I ain't expert at that, is being my girl's partner. That's the most expertise I have, is being my wife's partner. And sometimes she got to correct me on that. But that thing, it's a huge honor to be chosen and selected. But again, everybody you have on that panel speaks of diversity. How you gonna have a diverse, like, what if you put that thing out and it was all Black people talking about these are the diversity champions? Something is wrong with that. How many Black people in here got enough significant resources to change equity and diversity in the environments where we at? How many of them have enough intellectual capital to do it? Because it don't just always take money and resources. Sometimes it takes that intellectual capacity and intellectual capital to move the needle. I gotta at least be able to sit at the table and understand diversity rooted in equity before I can change anything. But again, some of those, you got some bad brothers and sisters here who understand that space. So it's an honor to be selected with some of the people on there. And again, I'll tell my fellow awardees who were selected, the Urban League is open to partner with you in any way. I'm not asking nobody for nothing. I'm saying, how can we serve together? That's all I ask for.
Well, that was my last question. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Oh no, as you can tell, I don't work. I get paid to live my purpose. I ain't got no job. I get paid for my purpose. And I gave myself 4 purposeful tracks: the United States military, professional football, higher education, or public service in the form of a nonprofit, CBO. And God is a genius, because if he only gives you one path, or you only take one path without considering everything that God has to offer, again, we serve a big God, and he's genius. He knew you before you were created. So he created some pathways for you to succeed or fail. Which one you gonna choose? I was telling the group last night, the question comes back to, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? I still got decisions to make every day.
Absolutely. Yeah. This category is very controversial because, Black people, they really get ticked off because they're not all Black. And it's
Anita.
Yeah, it's just like, well, if we're just talking about, being better ourselves, what is, what, that makes no sense. You have to champion the people who are doing it from the inside out, right?
My thing is, this sister, Anita Roberts, stepped up to do something that nobody else was doing. What the hell are you complaining about? If you could do it, you would do it. If you're not working with her, then be quiet. If you're not supporting what she's doing, don't be a critic or opposition for the sake of being a critic or opposition. We got enough adversaries out there anyway. If you ain't thinking what she thought of, man, go sit down on the chair and be quiet and learn something. Maybe you should watch what she's doing and you might learn something. I don't get to judge what you do. I get to support it or stay quiet, unless you violate the Urban League. And I don't recall you doing that.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that the people, when you shine a light on them and the work that they're doing, it puts the light on them and it makes them do more for everybody. And so we all win. We all win.
But see what you just did, that's the game right there. And you have some people, they playing checkers while other people are playing chess on multiple boards.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, listen, Black people ain't diversity experts.
And
You got some other people.
Diversity champions.
Yeah, come on, man.
They can't champion our
They're gonna say, why is Susan and Michael Dell on the list? Why are they not on the list?
Yeah.
Why aren't you why aren't you on the list? What haven't you done? Instead of looking at who is on the list, what could you be doing different?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't get no recognition. Maybe you ain't working hard enough.
Yeah.
Maybe not talking to the right people. Or maybe you just a quiet worker. My thing is, Anita, I appreciate it, but I'm not wearing the recognition as no badge of honor. I'm wearing the success of my people as a badge of honor. If I do servant leadership right, my people win. What I'm supposed to do, because I got that award with these other people, if we don't connect and do something together, something is wrong with that, either on my end or their end, and we need to be held accountable. That's what the game is. But again, people, they're not watching you. They watching you, but they're not watching. They looking at you, but they're not watching you.
Yeah.
So who she thinks she is to make the nominations? Shut up. Why didn't you do it?
Yeah, well, and
for 30 years.
Yeah.
I heard some people, I've been here for 30 years. Yeah, you ain't did shit in 30 years.
and that's what's interesting is the folks on the list, honestly, we looked at what was done over the last year, the last 2 years, right? And I mean, obviously we know the Urban League, we know their mission, but what happened in Austin and Central Texas over the last year and a half, right? 18 months, right? I mean, the Urban League was out front in every single thing, right? And so what people a lot of times what they don't realize is, it's not just about championing Black people. It's about championing, people who are, who need to be lifted up, right? I mean, because they can be white people, they can, poor white people, they can be anybody. It doesn't have to be Black people. That's why you see some folks on the list, and a lot of the people on the list, I mean, even the ones that are most influential, people were talking about how, like, I think one guy, he's the guy with the ABC something, it's like one of the pest control, I think.
Yeah.
And they said he is specifically, he cares about families. So not only does he make sure that his the people that work for him are diverse, but he takes care of their family. And to me, it's like you have to reward people like that, because I mean, you won't see this man's name on any list, right? Because of what he does. He's not like, he's not leadership Austin, right? He's not the creme de la creme. So, but
yes, he is. That's why he made your list, because he's the creme de la creme. Because
he matters to people who sometimes other people don't even feel have value.
That's right.
And that to me is that's why, when people ask, because I mean, we have them all the time, like, well, why am I on the list? And I'm like, well, honestly, some of you, I didn't even know you, I didn't even know some of you, but it's what people say about what you've done, right?
Right, the impact.
And so, so we talk about, I mean, what was it? It was during the storm. I mean, you guys raised over $1 million in the storm to help the community, not just Black people, to help the community, anybody who needed help.
Anita, listen, I had people come to me and say, what you do with that money? Go read the report. It's in writing.
Exactly.
They said, well, you didn't do nothing for Austin and Travis County. I said, you must have had your brain froze, because and I'm not going to tell you what we did. You raised the question, so it's up to you to go get the answer. I know what we did from Killeen to Bastrop.
Oh yeah.
From Killeen to San Marcos. Go read the report so you can see that it wasn't just the Urban League, it was a group of us. Again. Yeah. So
Oh yeah. And
we was out front and in the back at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, but the people who talk, and it's one of those things. I'm you come at me, I come back at you, and then I had to take a step back and say, you know what lesson am I supposed to be learning? Because obviously I'm off focus. Because when we allow people who are just snipping at us, there's
Dissension people.
yeah. When you allow them to dictate your path, that's when you're off track. That you're not.
And
I'm
that's
not.
when you
I'm
know
not
you're
following
not
God's
going
plan.
anywhere.
Yeah. And so it was so clear for me, like with the whole thing with Chaz. I mean, I went back and I apologized to Chaz. Now he probably never say it, he would, which was fine. A lot of folks, because it's like what you said earlier. It's like because it doesn't matter, because what I do is for everybody. I may not agree with you, and we're not going to agree with everything, but I'm still going to work to make sure you're okay, to make sure your company is okay, make sure now I may not, you may not be right next to me, or might not have access to me the way you've had before, but I'm still going to champion your cause, because it's still, I know why I'm here, and I got to stay focused
It's
and
your purpose.
focused, and it's like, I mean, things just start to happen. And I mean, I had to ask God what was going on with me. And the first thing that kept coming was, your vision is too small. Your vision is too small. And just like that, it was like, okay, God, show me.
You knew what that was. That's the refining of a diamond.
Yeah. Show me.
That's how you look at it. So we are constantly being refined and improved,
Yeah.
if you allow it to happen.
Yeah.
I'm being improved so I can be a better servant leader. I'm being improved daily so that I can be better for my girl and my kids.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
I'm being refined daily so that my father can get the credit. When somebody tell me job well done,
that's right,
they saying, God, job well done.
Yeah.
Not Quincy Dunlap.
Exactly. And that's the piece right there. It's like when you make well, at least from my perspective, when I've made so many mistakes and God still pulls me out and still gives me favor, that's when it's not you. It's his, it's not my will.
Listen, Anita, I'm talking about straight scoundrel.
Yeah.
God saw fit to refine me and put me in a leadership position so that I could serve his people. Right?
Yeah. And yeah. And listen, I was telling somebody the other day, because somebody was like, I don't feel like I'm deserving. I don't, I haven't done all that I wanted to do. And I said, well, Jesus didn't, his disciples were not.
I quietly said the same thing. Right? How the hell I make her list? That's what I said. So I had somebody to call me before I saw it and say, congratulations. I was like, congratulations on what? It was like, fool, you made the list. And I was like, what list? And then I got the text from somebody and I was like, how I'll make that list with those people. And they was like, dude, do you see what you're doing? I'm just supposed to do the work. I ain't here celebrating nothing.
When you have your head down doing the work, and it opens it up to, and because I mean, the blessings, one of the ladies who were on our list last time, she was in Bastrop, had Bastrop. That's where her office is. Now she's like the director somehow in public health. I mean, so people see you, and this is help to also help to amplify you and what you do. Because let me tell you, there's some folks that can write some checks that can do a lot more in our community. And we want to continue to praise them and let them know that we see them and we want them to see us. And so, I'm about strategy. So everything's about a strategic vision, that we have to continue to do. And, we're going to all play our parts, right? There's, nobody's gonna be on that road by themselves. We're all playing.
Trust me, Anita. I know what you do with the Black Business Journal. I'm making the request now, and we can further discuss it. I'm going to tap you down the line because we got our entrepreneurship center rolling. I'm going to tap you to help me in this entrepreneurship center. I got a great sister who's brilliant in that space, but we can always use more brilliance. And that's you and a couple of other people who know that entrepreneur and business space from different angles. how do we get these Black business leaders set up for success? Right. So at the end of the day, what I want people to say is, I went to the Urban League and I'm better off for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a guy, Yates, is it Yates, Mike Yates in Houston? He's with the Houston Urban League. But they've got a fund that helps help put money back into entrepreneurship for African Americans. And so that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because I really want to
we on that path already.
To figure out a way to because you guys already have the setup to do it, right? You've got the infrastructure to be able to house it, and there's money out there, and there's some folks that have called me and told me they have money. It's just that I don't have the capacity to do a lot of it. I can assist, but I don't have the capacity to do it all.
Nita, let's talk so you can see what we're setting up. And then some of these things can be integrated into that. If I got plans for years down the line.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you have a partner. Let's sit down and talk.
For sure. For sure. Well, once is probably first of the year, because I'm trying to, get past this whole year. It's been crazy, but it's been good. It's been a good year. But yeah, I definitely want to get on your calendar, and I'll call Quincy and get on your calendar, because I want to chat with you about because there's some money here. There's lots of for our purposes, to help build our folks, and that's about equity. It's about equity. It's about economic equity.
That's right.
We can't do anything unless we at least we can write a check. And we have to be able to write checks. People.
That's right.
Like us.
That's right.
So, all right, Quincy. Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate you guys on the 20th.
Okay.
All right.
I appreciate you. And again, I'm honored. I'm honored to be on that list. Thank you again. But you know me, I'm getting ready to put my head back down and go back to working. Thanks for the award, but I got to turn it into something for my people. That's how I look at it.
That's right. That's right. And we know you're going to do it.
Keep pushing, my sister.
All right.
Call me if you need me.
Will do. You take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye. Give my regards to the boys as well.
I will. Thanks.
All right.